Good morning. Once again, good morning and welcome to Business Day's Mobility and Logistic Conference 2025. Now, this initiative is started by Business Day Nigeria. Thank you so much for coming into the room. Honorable Commissioner, you're welcome. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, welcome. My name is Akeminiobong Michael, professionally known as Kemi Michael. And we're going to go straight into the program for today. But first, we would stand for the national anthem. Please, I crave your indulgence to be on your feet. Thank you very much. National anthem, please. Thank you very much. You may have your seat. We're going straight into the program and we're beginning with the opening welcome by the Business Day's publisher, Mr. Frank Aigbogu. Welcome.
Honorable Commissioner, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and may I start by appreciating our sponsors for today's event, DP World and others who have chosen to or elected to support this event. We're very grateful to you and happy that you have chosen to partner with us this morning. I'm sorry we're starting slightly late, so let me offer profuse apologies on behalf of Business Day for this delayed commencement. But now that we are about to start, I believe that we're going to get on with this and be certain that we don't hold you here for longer than we should. Today for me is a very, very exciting day. At Business Day, this for us is a great event. Just knowing or thinking about the core and important role that logistics play in enabling any environment, and that we have you all here gathered, for me is quite, an exciting thing. We're very sure that you're going to be spending your time with us in a way that I have absolutely no doubt will benefit you as business leaders and, of course, as businesses as well. It's our first logistics summit at Business Day, which is why I said today is a very exciting day. It's exciting because every person you speak to today tell you that the economy, the Nigerian economy, is about to take off. And what a better way for that takeoff than to just sit down and to begin to analyze and begin to look at how best we can position the logistics sector for that takeoff of the economy. It's been a very trying year, but we all know that the ingredients for an economic takeoff are beginning to coalesce. They are beginning to come together. A very stable macroeconomic environment. And of course, if you look at other things, inflation trending downwards, foreign exchange stability, oil production at a level that is comfortable. And indeed, if you look at other things, it's been a painful year. But without any question, I think this is a time to really start planning for growth. It's the reason why I am so delighted that you all are here. Logistics is a very, very credible measure of how an economy is doing. In fact, it's a clear index for measuring the health or the growth of an economy. And quite often, our logistics can even be there before the economy grows, as people are preparing and putting in place, mechanisms for that growth. So we have absolutely no doubt that you occupy a very important part of this whole dream of Nigeria's economic takeoff. So once again, Honorable Commissioner, let me thank you for coming in early. I know you have to be somewhere very quickly, but we have no doubt, Lagos being what it is, the size of the GDP, but also as a catalyst for Nigeria's economic development, we're so grateful that you're here with us this morning. But ladies and gentlemen, let me not waste any more time. We have good speeches that will be made. We have very sound panelists who will be discussing and just hold your breath. I can tell you, you are in for a good ride this morning. Once more, let me thank our sponsors and let me thank our guests who have chosen to be out here this morning. Thank you so much, and let's get going. Pleasure.
Thank you. Please give him another round of applause. Thank you. All right, on to the next thing on the program. We have a special guest in the house, and that is Honorable Commissioner for Transportation, Lagos State. His name, Honorable Oluwaseun Oseyemi, and he's going to be giving us a keynote address right now. Please let's put our hands together for him.
Good morning, everyone. I always try to do this every time I go out. I ensure that I make people know the right pronunciation of my surname. Interestingly, my wonderful compere said that she told us her name, and then she now said, my name is Kemi, popularly known as Kemi. So when she said Kemi, I said, oh, she's Yoruba. And then she came up and said, didn't pronounce my name well, so I'm going to fine you. My name is Oseyemi Oluwaseun Oseyemi. Thank you very much. Distinguished industry leaders, policymakers, innovators, investors, operators in mobility and logistics, and our partners from across Nigeria and Africa, good morning. It is an honor to engage a room filled with the people shaping the next decade of mobility. Today's conversations on infrastructure, connectivity, and last-mile solutions come at a pivotal time. Nigeria's mobility and logistics sector is transforming rapidly, and Lagos, the nation's economic engine, sits at the center of this transition. This conference matters because logistics is not just an industry, it is the bloodstream of the economy. Every business, every home, every market, every digital platform depends on the efficient movement of people, parcels, and products. And the choice we make today, either about infrastructure, regulation, and technology and financing, will determine Nigeria's competitiveness for decades. Lagos is a megacity with a massive population, yet its physical space is limited, and a significant portion of it is water. Every day, countless trips occur on our roads. Millions of vehicles travel across our expansive road network, creating inevitable pressure. However, this challenge also signals one of Africa's largest and most vibrant markets for logistic technology, fleet optimization, and smart mobility systems. The impact is well known. Businesses lose hours each week due to congestion. The economy loses several billions in dollars annually in productivity. Consumers spend an outsized share of income on transport, fueling demand for faster, cheaper, more predictable delivery service. Current model use tells the story clearly. Averagely, high percentage of commuters rely on minibuses, our downfalls. and roughly over 1% of movement happens on rail and water combined. This means logistics companies, dispatch riders, e-commerce operators, and freight trucks are all competing for the same limited road space. But the lesson is not to complain, it is to build solutions. And this is where Lagos is deliberately shifting the narrative. Lagos transport policy today rests on 3 pillars: diversification, multimodal expansion, and smart mobility integration. To reduce road pressure and improve business efficiency, Lagos is expanding alternative modes with direct benefits for freight and last mile productivity. Expansion of ferry terminals at Ikorodu, Lagos Island, and Ekpe to enable passenger and micro cargo movement. Ongoing construction and activation of rail corridors such as the blue and red lines to shift high commuter volumes off roads. Strengthening BRT and high-capacity bus operations to free road space currently clogged by low-capacity vehicles. Development of first last-mile systems to improve access within inner communities, reducing logistics delays. Promotion of clean energy mobility, including electric buses, electric motorcycles for dispatch, and pilot programs for zero-emission vehicles in commercial and corporate fleets. Diversification is not theory, it's a business enabler. Multimodal integration. A world-class logistics system depends on connectivity across all modes. Lagos is advancing. Blue and red line feeding into bus and first last mile networks, Laswa ferry and jetty services linking terminals with adjacent bus routes and mini hubs, strengthen freight access corridors in Apapa Mile 2 and industrial zones, PPP-driven inland waterways logistics for light cargo, integrated ticketing and smart payment systems supporting smoother passenger flow, road infrastructure, junction improvements, smart traffic lights, and signages to improved traffic flow and safety. Each improvement shortens delivery times, reduces cost, and lowers turnaround for logistics operators. The smart mobility and data-driven traffic management. Modern logistics requires intelligence, not just infrastructure. Lagos is deploying ITS cameras for enforcement and decongestion, GPS-enabled fleet management for public buses and regulated operators, sensors, digital platforms, and planned EVs charging points to support the growing shift towards clean energy transport system. A smart city is a competitive logistics city, and that is the direction Lagos is moving. The business case for a logistics-ready Lagos. With Lagos population, the pressure on road usage, and the vast economic demand is emerging together, the opportunity becomes clearer. High trip density creates Africa's largest market for e-commerce logistics. Road constraints make multimodal freight, which is the rail, water, BRT, commercially attractive. The youth population that we have, it's an advantage. It's an innovative, mobile, tech, adaptive, all fields, delivery, ride-hailing, and micro-mobility growth. Government diversification reduces long-term operational cost and improves reliability for investors. Ladies and gentlemen, everything we have discussed today, diversification, multimodal expansion, smart mobility, clean energy adoption, first last mile transformation leads naturally to one conclusion. The future of Nigeria's logistics system cannot be delivered by government alone. It must be built through purposeful, structured, investment-friendly public-private partnerships because the scale of demand outpaces public resources. These realities make Lagos not just a mega city, but a mega market. And mega markets thrive on collaboration, not isolation. PPP is a bridge between ambition and execution. It is how we will fund rail extensions, upgrade terminals, modernize bus fleets, electrify mobility, expand water transport, build logistic hubs, deploy charging stations, and deliver smart traffic infrastructure. It's also how we catalyze private innovation in dispatch and fleet management, ride-hailing and shared mobility, revolutionize our waterways with the Omi Eco project, increase EV production and conversion, digital routing, and address optimization. Government's role is to set direction and create an enabling environment. But with industries, your capital, technologies, efficiencies, and execution will ultimately determine our speed. That is why Mr. Governor, in his strategy to actualize the set goals for the first pillar of Themes Plus agenda, that is traffic management and transportation, Lagos State is deepening PPP model through co-finance transport corridors, terminal operation concessions, joint fare collection and smart ticketing systems, logistics and micro-cargo partnerships on rail and water community integrated last mile operations. The business of logistics is a business of national prosperity. If Nigeria must grow, we must connect better. If Lagos must lead, we must modernize faster. And if businesses must thrive, we must shift from fragmented operations to integrated multimodal logistics where government and private operators drive progress together. Lagos is ready for the future. We invite you to build it with us. Thank you very much and God bless.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. And please don't find me. I am not Yoruba. Let me start with that. But that was a very beautiful speech. Please, before you step out, I would like you to come up stage so we could take a photo session. And I would also like to call on the publisher of Business Day to come up as well to take a photo with the Honorable Commissioner, and also Tunji Gomes, who is the DP World Logistics Director of DP World Logistics, and also Amit Bose, CFO, Valency Agro Nigeria. Please come up on stage. Adefola Amao, who is the founder, CEO of Grid Code Company, and also Reynolds Shondeinde, who is the National Executive Director, Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport Nigeria. Also, I'd like to call on Adeloro Stephen, who is the National Coordinator, African Center of Supply Chain. And yes, Mr. Adefola Amao will be represented by Ayodeji Agbola. Please come on stage to take a picture. Thank you very much. Now, one thing that I learned from the speech that the Honorable Commissioner gave is that there are more modes of transportation in Nigeria. And if you haven't used them, then you're missing out, because I have used water transport and I'll tell you, it's fast, it's reliable, it's comfortable, it's something I enjoy using. Although some people are scared of water, but you should try it, try it today. All right, thank you so much. Please give yourself a round of applause. You've been an amazing audience so far. And thank the Honorable Commissioner for coming in. Thank you so much. Now we're going to move on to the next thing on the agenda, and that will be a keynote paper from Dr. Obiora Madu, who is the Director General, African Center of Supply Chain, although he will be represented by Adeloro Stephen, who is the National Coordinator, African Center of Supply Chain. Now, one thing you should know is that Mr. Stephen Oluwasoni Adeloro is an accomplished supply chain strategist and leadership coach with over 2 decades of professional experience across governance, organizational development, and end-to-end supply chain management in Africa. He possesses several professional certifications in logistics, supply chain leadership, and policy management, and has contributed significantly to strengthening agricultural value chains and national food supply systems. He currently serves as the National Coordinator of the African Center for Supply Chain, ACSC, and is an honorary member of the African Resource Center for Excellence in Supply Chain Management. He's a certified zipline coach. He's at the forefront of advancing multimodal logistics solution, including drone-enabled last-mile delivery systems in Nigeria. Let's put our hands together for Adeloro Stephen. Please put your hands together. Thank you very much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. I'm highly honored to represent the DG of African Center for Supply Chain, Dr. Obiora Madu, to deliver this key message. Yes, if we take our children to an eatery and we say we want rice and chicken, yes, we enjoy it, but we fail to care how that come about. The function of logistics and supply chain. You eat rice, you have actually eaten paddy. You eat chicken, you have actually eaten vaccine, you have eaten millet, you have eaten sorghum and maize, which have been used to grow the chicken. So, and how do we get all these things coordinated together? It's the function of supply chain and paddy. So everything is about supply chain. We being here is also the product of supply chain. So we want to appreciate that. So, and what are we going to look at? We're going to look at the fundamental importance of logistics infrastructure for economic growth. We want to pinpoint the persistent logistic challenges Nigeria is currently facing, and we'll be outlining the strategic approaches Nigeria needs to take when we talk about logistics, healthcare, food supply chain and agriculture, digital trade, and public administration. There are striking facts that we want to appreciate as a people. There will be frequent cases of stockouts and also frequent delays and emergency response. You know, it's about life. It's about existence. It's about the well-being of humankind. Then we have unhealthy fragmented delivery system, duplicated effort, and we have transfer of large volumes of merchandise from rail to transport, which is very cumbersome. We have maritime shipping hubs. Let's use that term to broaden our understanding of seaport, always congested, crowded. We have interior cargo handling facility, which is a dry port, not served well, working below capacity. We have inconsistent electricity supply, about infrastructure, which is also going to be being impacted negatively by electricity. Then we have inconsistent access to rural and hard-to-reach community. Talking about rural hard-to-reach community, all of us can relate to that. We have some places in Nigeria where you cannot even access by foot during certain season. But people live there. How do they access medicine, essential medicine and essential drugs? Even when they have problem, how do they get full supply? We need to look at that. That's why this conference is very important. So, why it matters to reimagine supply chain infrastructure? It's very important because, like we listened to in the keynote, which largely focused on Lagos State, Nigeria as a country is at significant crossroad of infrastructural development. The requirement for efficient supply chain and logistics mobility is at low ebb. Then our capacity to thrive internationally and also expand internally and compete very fairly in the market, both global market, national market, and African market, we are having challenges there. So because we do not have yet unified framework that will help us achieve this. Then the mobility and logistics framework encompasses fundamental facilities, communication links, and efficient financial distribution, which we call last mile, is developing, but we are not yet there. So all these elements will no longer be seen as fragmented elements of function, but they must be seen to be inclusive and also integrated. So, like we have heard from the publisher and also the keynote speaker, it is very important for us at this time because we want to give attention to what are the gaps that currently militate against our growth, economic growth as a nation. So we have soft infrastructural challenges. When we talk about soft, you see, distribution costs in Nigeria is so high that it peaks between 20 to 30%. Compare that one to global standard, which is supposed to be between 8 and 11. For you to appreciate this, if you remove about 30% from the cost of a loaf of bread of 2,000 naira, it could be 1,400. So it makes people have access to bread and beans more than if we are operating at this level. So just look at what you buy. Look at the logistic component in the thing you buy. Now, we appreciate the fact we need to do more and upgrade so that we can compete fairly and we can compete with imported items. So when an item is coming to Nigeria as imported, the only aspect of the logistics transport mode we use is just warehousing and last mile. So, but you as a manufacturer have incurred cost of moving in from, if you import it, from the warehouse to the material, inbound logistics from the company, then you now produce finished goods, you move again. So you have incurred several cost layers of logistic costs, which are at 20 to 30%, every mode, every segment. Now combine it together. Now ask yourself, can we compete fairly? So we need to look at it. We have unreliable rural and peri-urban connectivity. We have weak multimodal integration, fragmented infrastructure, limited last mile capacity. Yes, we will be thinking about last mile. We talk about it. We see the we know. What is the capacity? How much volume can we push with the one we have currently? We look at it. Then we're talking about hard infrastructure challenges. As of today, only about 60% rural communities have all 16 road access. What do I say here? Whether the road is good or bad, you can struggle to get there. That is not more than 60%. We are not talking that 60% have good road network, but you can struggle. There's some places you cannot even, you don't dare going there during a certain period of the year. But people still live there. That is a challenge. Then we have limited road to road connectivity for bulk goods. Even if we say we have road that is functioning somehow in Nigeria, look at your state and the hub of your product. How do you transfer this product from your state to the rail gauge? It's not, no, it's not, it doesn't pass through many states. So it is not still supporting the level at which we transact business in this country. Maritime shipping hub experiencing overcrowding, we said this, then network problems. In most places where we are now test running the zip line operation, we're having serious problem about connectivity. Where drone can even take your goods to a different location because of network. So these are the things that is happening. But in summary, in summary, we are talking about things we need to give attention to: the very pronounced infrastructure gap in logistics in Nigeria. We talk about multimodal transport, port operation, road network, warehousing, digital system, then code hubs. So these are what we need if we want to really improve multimodal last mile solution, and also we want to solve this problem that we're talking about. This conference is very important because these are the things we need to look at. Maybe during the panel discussion, we can ask questions and also see how we can debate and grow this. So the key message here is that we need to approach things differently. That way we do things before. You see, in the past, when supply chain just made its inroad into Nigeria, companies, manufacturing companies were having challenges to know how to even integrate procurement, warehousing, inventory, and also transport, inbound and outbound logistics. So some companies were operating two different supply chains in parallel without knowing how to connect. Then all these functions have functional heads: head of department procurement, head of department inventory, head of department logistics. They don't work together. They work in silos. At the same time, things were not working well. Now, current message, what you want to do is to function as a single whole, to work together, integrated transport network. Then the Honorable Commissioner mentioned about PPP. It's very, very important. There must be collaborative effort between the public and private sector. Then there must be innovative last mile delivery solution, including use of drone, for example, to deliver products. And again, solar powered bike. We begin to talk about what we know now as micro last mile solution, but what is the capacity that we can push and push for now? Then digital and physical infrastructure. So we need to transit from a collection of disjointed elements and systems to cohesive, modern, and future-ready supply chain framework. In a nutshell, every function, all the elements we talk about must function as a single whole on integrated basis for us to really achieve that growth that multimodal system is going to serve as engine room. So what are the benefits of implementing integrated system? So with the right mix of infrastructure and connectivity reforms, Nigeria can achieve 30 to 40% reduction in logistic costs. The manufacturers among us, industrialists, you can know what it means. When you chop off 30% from the costs that erodes your bottom line, you know what it means? Everybody benefits, both employees, both investors, everybody. So for you to know the power of upgrading logistics solutions and also making multimodal system accessible and in Nigeria. Then we can also have increased access to markets for about 40 million rural dwellers. Likely you have someone among these 40 million, that's your family, your relative, that even before you can get this delivered to them, you struggle. Still in this country as developed as we see, so then we can have lower post-harvest food losses. You know, when we talk about whatever we do as individual, as a person, as a company, as an entrepreneur, it's about putting food on the table. Am I lying? So whatever we do, it's about food. You collect salary, you take care of yourself, you do business to employ people, it's about food. That is fundamental. And in Nigeria currently, we are prone to losses. Food waste in Nigeria is about 50%. Even fresh produce coming from place to place, you lose about between 49 to 51% we lose every time. And look at the effect. You are shipping a truckload of fresh produce from Kano or just to Lagos. Let's say tomatoes. And it's supposed to fetch you, let's say, 10 million naira. If that food truck reaches Lagos safely without any issue. But before you go to Lagos, maybe my 2 market or my 1 market, you have to throw away half of the trailer. So will you make loss from your trailer? No. You spread the cost again on the half to have the value of a food. That's why when you talk about logistics and cost of food between north and south, it is not one Nigeria. So the food we eat in the north is cheaper compared to what we eat in Lagos because you pay for waste, 50%. That is in addition to 20 to 30% of logistic costs that are already embedded in the transportation cost. So it's no joke at all. So talking about massive SME competitiveness, we are going to benefit. We're also going to benefit food health supply chain. We have found out that in the past, we are looking at supply chain, we are seeing agriculture supply chain. We found out later on that there's a difference between agriculture supply chain and also food supply chain. So some food are produced, but don't get to the consumer. It's different. So what do? That has led to the various innovative solutions. But that's good news. Are we starting from the scratch? There are some things to celebrate in this country. Let's look at them. For example, we already have some inland dry port. We celebrate it, even though many of us don't have benefit derivable from it for now. We have very good example in Kaduna. We have Nasarawa DMA warehouse. This Nasarawa DMA warehouse is a testimony that something good can happen in this country. I've been there myself. So it's a PPP-led innovation to make sure that you can even use the hub for reverse logistics of finished goods, of finished food, and also drugs and essential medicine. Then we have a digital logistics platform. Many in these rooms also are into this. Then we have drone delivery, part of the operation. As I speak, we are operating Zipline in Nigeria and in Kaduna State, in Bayelsa State, and Cross River. Those are the 3 states currently test running the pilot operation of Zipline. You know, there was a time they came, you know, they started in Rwanda and Ghana, they are in Nigeria, they came, they went back, but now they are back. So the first set of participants who have been coached for the past 6 months will be graduating tomorrow in Nigeria. So if you note about this one, you see that we are coming up. But again, 3 states out of 36. We still have a long way to go. Then we have cold chain investment. We have Lekki Deep Sea Port and the emerging industrial corridors. We have private investment, private sector investment in trucking, cold chain, and macro fulfillment centers. You know, when I talk about this cold chain, I tested my hand on this about less than 2 years ago. Because cold chain, you know, when you want to do cold logistics from the north to carry fresh produce to Lagos, you need to have a standard and functional cold hub where you're going to transfer the goods coming from cold logistics into. But at the time, you found out that there was a problem even ensuring the temperature, standard temperature in transit. You may not know. This someone that is using diesel to power a generator and want to be in transit for like 2 days. You now leave the engine running for 2 days. So we found out that some products were wasted because of rottenness. So these are the two, but there will be solution to that. So Nigeria are coming up. Then let's now look at, for example, the drone operation for us to know that we are already growing, do something in Nigeria. So we need to appreciate this part. So this overview of state plan operation in Nigeria, working in Bayelsa State, Cross River State, and in Kaduna State. And these 3 states have been chosen for pilot tests because of the peculiar nature of these states. Now, Zipline is currently operating the capacity of 13 million in these 3 states. Initial focus is to ensure that we have essential medicine vaccines and delivered. Now they have included blood transportation. Then they delivered 26,000 packages to 517 facilities and onboarding additional 203 facilities in less than 1 year of operation. And over 500,000 units of medical products have been delivered, over 800 vaccine doses distributed. One thing you appreciate about Zipline is that you know, I have a situation where a colleague in Zurich was involved in an accident. I can imagine what will have happened to him had he been in Nigeria. When you see ambulance with siren blowing, wow, 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 before you get there, the person might have died because of traffic. But in this situation, the system used is to have a helicopter. It was alerted, the control room was alerted and came 5 minutes, picked from the spot to the hospital, and that's how the life was saved. So the same thing drone is doing in Nigeria. When there was a snake bite in Cross River State, in Bayelsa, it was this drone that saved lives of people because of the flood. Vaccine was quickly, under 30 minutes, everything was delivered. It is not possible with the conventional transportation that we use. So we need to appreciate this. So then let me just show you a brief picture of the DMA Nasarawa and Todu. This is how it looked like in Nasarawa State in Lafia. And the good thing about it is that this continues to expand. That is one of the work being done by ACISM in collaboration with private sector and government. So this is a warehouse. Modern. If you enter there, you know that this compares favorably well with any international standard. Anywhere you go in the world, you can see. So, and it is possible to upgrade to this level. That is why this conference is very important for us to know that we are not just starting from the scratch. There are things working well, ready, that we need to just kill. That is a key message. But now, can we look at issues strategically? What should we do to turn the tides? So we'll be looking at certain things, and this may be one of the key takeaways from all of us here. Transport and multimodal strategy. We need to define, every company organization needs to define what kind of multimodal combination do I want to. It may be 2 or 3, may not be all. So even when you are making ordering, you are ordering products from for importation, you need to define from this beginning how you want to take that on from the port, then to the factory, then to the customer. You need to define it. Don't struggle after you finish, then you now begin to talk, who will take up this leg of logistics. It is suboptimal, and it also can increase your cost. Whether you're going to hard roads, to drones, to boats, to bike, or food carrier, we have for this as last mile. Then we need to have strategic planning and scenario mapping. In hard to reach locations, for example, if you are dealing with essential medicine and medical facilities and medical equipment, you need to simulate some situation already, getting ready. So what if rain just starts falling and non-stop for the next 7 days, and how would they cope in Bayelsa and Cross River, even in Lagos, Ikorodu, and everywhere? So how do we care for people there in terms of giving them food, that is first aid and palliatives, for example? Once you have that scenario mapped already, then you can respond very quickly when the emergency arises. Then we talk about data sharing and monitoring. If you are working on health facility or health care system with government, there must be that synchronization between your database and their own. Then you need to share it so that you can have access to real life data that you can use to make decisions about responses. Then coordination and command structure. This is where we want to talk about the synchronization and operation of a drone and government agencies, because you cannot operate drone without seeking certain approval from the airspace management so that there will be no issues. These are the things that we need to do. Integrated state and national vision, policy and regulation and alignment. So there could be caution waiver for those who are investing in a multimodal system, and there will be maybe multimodal transport integration, digital connectivity and data platforms, modern last mile system. So these are part of what we need to do. We are looking at this strategically, and I'm happy Business Day is starting this year, and these are part of what we need to look at. So how do we build a unified supply chain vision? This is part of the roadmap. A unified supply chain vision should reflect these core principles. Multimodal integration, that is SOP, must be established so that you can discontinue mono mode in your organization establishment. It will be people-centered. So because it's the people that make it work. Even the EVI is working or robot is working, don't forget people element. They are now, people is part of the 3 P's bottom line. People are things you gain, not only money, not only profit. Supply chain is advancing to make sure that we have triple T and P, sorry. So there will be data-driven decision-making, flows to a single contract, single operator in your company. You do well to have a contract that we itemize and make sure that you integrate and you see through from the end to end, and you can have a contract with one logistics service provider who give you this, so that you know when to expect certain product. So pictorially, you can see what we call multimodal. You have road, rail, port, drone, air. You can combine 2 or 3 of these or all, depending on the size of your operation and organization. Then all the pictures shows what you can do. From mother vessel, look at what is happening in Nigeria now. It's no longer necessary for you to bet your vessel in a power port and first of all take the truck of those goods out to the mainland and take it to Ekpe or Ikorodu. Why don't you use river barges from the mother vessel to river barges, flow to Lekki DC port? From there, you can go to Ondo State and also the coastal state. These are the things we need to do. So it is not necessary that we have all these bulk cargoes flying through the roads. If we are operating very well. All the modes of transportation we have, from boat, river barges, and then trucks on the road, we can balance everything. So, and the other thing we need to look at is PPP. It's very imperative to talk about this. I say this, there is no country that developed without PPPs, and Nigeria must deepen its coordinated investment in this. So we also know government provide enabling environment while private sector execute, and we make the community to hone the process and also sustain it. If you have this one at the back of our mind, we'll be successful in this drive. So what are we going to partner with? PPP, dry port and logistics parks, digital connectivity infrastructure, shared last mile distribution system. Let me talk about this briefly. Shared mile. So you may not be able to acquire this asset, this last mile, maybe bike, Marwa, or EV machinery. So you can share with other users so that you can really cut down your cost and serve the same purpose. The only thing to do is to have timing and schedules. Your home goes on Monday and Wednesday, its home goes on Tuesday and Thursday, the Friday for maintenance, something like that. Can work together. Then we have action framework. Action framework that we want to look at now is what will lead us to what we need to do as a takeaway that we can be discussing. Number one, policy regulation alignment, strategic planning, scenario mapping, we talk about it, then data sharing, monitoring. So you will not be very maybe overly protective of your data if you really want us to grow as a nation, as a business, as a state. So now, policy integration. As I said before, you need to look at the possible logistics mode of transport that you want to use. Maybe at the state level or organizational level, you have it committed to a policy statement, and let it be integrated and be inclusive. So now you see form of what we're talking about, you see code ops and cold chain transportation system. Then whether you have bike as last mile, whether you have this drone that's delivered to the house, or both. If we are not careful about committing this to policy, we may be having problem. For example, will the police stop your bike on the road because it's not approved? So these are the challenges we may have. But if it's a policy thing, we can move freely. Then drone can make life very easier. So, and these are also part of the framework, National Logistics and Supply Chain Master Plan. Then human capital development, very key, tax incentive for infrastructure, then special economic corridors. That's the thing we need to look at. Then we have scalable and affordable last mile delivery solutions. So we have community aggregator hubs. So you can do it from in the rural area, put them together, train them, put them together, invest in them. Then we have we need to modernize the last mile ecosystem. Structure code up, like you see in the picture. Then we have EV-based deliveries and drone-based delivery. Multimodal transport integration. These are also the things we need to look at. So digital connectivity and plan system is clear. For example, we see in the picture, and like I said, you cannot work in isolation now. Nobody can work in silo and achieve anything. So let me just show you what we need to do about administration. There are theories that I'm not going to talk too much about. Is you design emergency response plans. So this is what it is. All 8 number. Risk assessment, stakeholder engagement, up to when you get to the monitoring and continuity. Let me conclude this way. Nigeria's future depends on integrated execution of systems. It is time to align infrastructure plus connectivity plus last mile, and collective action will unlock national transformation. Let's continue the discussion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stephen. Thank you so much for that. That was a very, very interesting slide. And I learned several things from there. One thing is that the price of food in the north is totally different from the price of food down here where we are. And that is painful, if I do say so myself. It really is, because imagine you want to make something really interesting, like maybe some sauce with tomato, but you cannot afford the price of tomato right there. But we're here in the room to make sure that we change that. That is exactly why we're here. We are change makers. We're a solution to this particular problem that we're facing in Nigeria. Please, let's give him another round of applause. We'll be moving straight to the next thing on our program, and that is the panel session. And this panel session will be talking about the infrastructure, fleet transformation, and supply chain strength for mobility excellence. And yes, there will in fact be time for you to ask your questions to our panelists. I'll start by introducing our panelists. I'd like to call up Reynolds Shodeinde, who is the National Executive Director, Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport, Nigeria. Let's give him a round of applause. Now, he is an accomplished logistics and transport professional with more than 2 decades of experience across fleet management, forwarding operations, personal outsourcing, and supply chain administration. He began his career at the Nigerian Postal Services, that's NIPOST, as postal controller and later head of the logistics unit. He subsequently joined C&I Leasing PLC as assistant logistic manager, coordinating nationwide lease fleet operations, personnel sourcing, and logistics training programs. He later served as branch manager at Sinox Logistics Limited, an international logistics firm with operations in 57 countries, where he led business development, procurement, inventory management, haulage supervision, and global cargo movement. Please let's give him another round of applause. And to our next panelist, who is Dr. Ibrahim M.D. Lawal. He's the Managing Director, CEO, Saldams Logistics Services Limited. Is he in the building? Okay, so we're moving on to Dr. Samuel Dayo, who is the Fleet Supervisor, MTN Nigerian Communication PLC. Now, Dr. Samuel Dayo is a distinguished expert in logistics and transport management with a rich background in maritime transport, business management, and supply chain management. Holding multiple degrees from esteemed institutions, including the Maritime Academy of Nigeria and the University of Port Harcourt. Dr. Ebidumi has established himself as a thought leader within logistics and supply chain domains. With extensive experience in inventory management, warehouse management, and fleet management at MTN Nigerian Communications PLC. Dr. Ebidumi has demonstrated his ability to drive operational excellence. His academic and professional journey also includes teaching shipping and logistic courses at the Maritime Academy of Nigeria, sailing on board LNG ships as administrative officer, and actively consulting for maritime and supply chain organizations. Please let's put our hands together for Dr. Samuel Dayo. And our next panelist is Oluwadamilola Emmanuel, who is the special advisor to Lagos Governor on Blue Economy, and General Manager, Lagos State Waterways Authority. We have 2 panelists that will be joining virtually. I hope they're ready. Are they ready? All right, I'll be introducing our panelist that will be joining virtually, and that is Dr. Ibrahim Mohammed Duze Lawal. He's a transport and logistic expert with over 16 years of experience across West and East Africa. He holds diplomas in maritime transport and business management from the Maritime Academy of Nigeria, and a master's degree in transport management from Ladoke Akintola University. He later earned a master's in applied business research and a doctorate in business leadership from the Swiss Business School, alongside multiple leadership and professional fellowships, including FCILT UK. Please let's give him a round of applause. He'll be joining virtually. And our next speaker, who also will be joining virtually, Oluwadamilola Emmanuel. Okay, so I'm guessing Oluwadamilola Emmanuel is not in the building at the moment and is not ready, but I'll be calling on our moderator for this panel, this very wonderful field panel. This is Mr. Kenneth Jukbo. He is the Managing Director, Juken Consults Limited and publisher, News Diet Online and Magazine. Please let's give him a round of applause. Thank you so much.
Thank you once again. I'd like to say a very big good morning to you and thank the Business Day team for the opportunity to discuss this strategic issue here today. And also to thank you especially for the steaming hot tea I expected as well as I walked in this morning. Thank you. On this panel here and online, we have a team of people who have about 66 years experience across several fields, from policy development at CILT to managing the private sector fleets like MTN, a multinational, to managing fleet of trucks for a group as Dangote Group, then to the waterways sector, which Nigeria has given so much focus to in recent times with the development of the Marine and Blue Economy Ministry. We have our very dear and esteemed SA to Lagos Governor also joining us online or joining us in person in a few minutes. So it's a robust panel. And I want to kindly enjoy you to participate. In the next 40 minutes or 30, we'll be discussing in 30 minutes and giving an opportunity to get question and answer session for about 10 minutes. So thank you again, my esteemed panelists. Your profiles have been lavishly expressed and communicated by a wonderful MC. So I'll just be delving straight up into the questions. I expect that at the end of this session, we expect as attendees that at the end of this session, we'll have quality take home. We are getting it from your experiences because I esteem Mr. Stephen has given us a masterclass. So, but what we want to get now, your experiences, as operators. So we're starting from the man who has the most experience on this panel, over 20 years, a very dear executive director at CILT, and you produce, I'm aware CILT produces books from your conferences. You now publish books. So you're actually in the best place to tell us about the policy, the best infrastructure solutions to the challenges we have in this sector as we talk about mobility to the last mile, as we talk about infrastructure, so just share with us. Thank you, sir.
Very much. Now, the question is, what are the policies that we should prioritize? And I say, starting with, is that question even right? When you say you want to prioritize something, it means you want to select something out of others and begin to implement it. That is, you demonstrate that you are prioritizing by implementation. Now, the fact is that we have policies. It's not as like we don't have. Prioritizing our policies means that we need to look at the content of those policies, isn't it? Then we see the areas that we want to work on, we want to prioritize. Now, why are we at this time asking what to prioritize? When we have policies and we have institutional reforms that contain blueprints. Listen, BPP has an act. FEMA has an act. RCRC has an act. All beautiful blueprints that we can use in getting solutions to mobility within and supply chain, within the, Now, again, the first National Transport Land Policy was drafted in 1965. It was revised in 1993. It was not adopted in 1965. It was not adopted in 1993 when it was revised. Luckily, this regime saw it not of worse. And then this very year, July 31, PEC adopted it. 2025, 60 years after 60 years. These policies are with us. These things are down. What is the problem? So the issue is not what to prioritize, what policies to prioritize. They are there. They are always there. And I said that because you asked me a question, I will answer you. The policies and reforms that we should prioritize, personally, if I want to look at it, I'm giving 3. 1, those that will address diversification and sustainability of funding for transport infrastructure. 2, robust governance with private sector participation. And 3, integration of smart technology and sustainable practices. Now we need to move away from the overdependence on public budget for transport in private vehicle. Everybody, look, when I was growing up, every house had at least one bicycle. The bicycle will never emit carbon monoxide that will go into the sky, deplete the ozone layer, and increase the incoming solar radiation that will begin to scorch the earth and the places where we live. The bicycle has no noise pollution. It is cost friendly. When you ride on the bicycle, you're exercising yourself, it's healthy for you. These days, you go into people's compounds and you see 4 cars. Everybody, the wife has, Madam has a car, Oga has a car, the first son has a car that is in the university, the junior ones in the secondary school, they have another one, another. So, why don't we begin to look at how we can minimize the use of private vehicles? And people think it's a status symbol. We should be now investing more in mass transit. And I'm very happy with Lagos State, Lamata, what they're doing. Blue rail here, red train services here and there. Yeah, and well, maybe we have not gotten there yet. And the last mile connectivity thing, very, very important. I can go on, but I think that the areas that we should prioritize in our policies that are lying down will be diversified and sustainable funding, robust governance with private sector participation, and integration of smart technology and sustainable practices. And of course, let me stop at this point because we need to talk about, when we're talking about our private government working with private people, I'm talking about PPP, which he spoke about extensively, So I'll stop at this point for now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Please, we should clap. Only my publisher is clapping. We should clap. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm sure Mr. Dyer agrees with a lot of things that you said, but I would like Mr. Dyer to speak from a private sector operator's perspective. Now, MTN operates one of the largest fleets of vehicles. And of course, I know you will be concerned, someone who is in that space, be concerned about technologies, you'll be concerned about certain things that would improve the transport and logistics environment for fleets of vehicles, primarily for MTN, but more holistically for the nation. So we'd like to hear from you. What are the things that are pricking your hearts at this time?
Thank you very much, Ken. Let me use this opportunity to welcome everybody again. Good morning. So, when you manage a fleet, there are certain expectations you have, okay? Because basically you are trying to ensure that your fleet is performing optimally. So you want to ensure that, first of all, you have as many of your assets or vehicles available for use at all times. Okay, that's one of your expectations. And then you also want to ensure that you have visibility of your operations. You want to know where your vehicles are at every point in time. You want to know how your drivers are handling the vehicles. You also want to ensure that you are able to track fueling You also want to ensure that your vehicles are properly maintained. So at the end of the day, the need for technology is only relevant if it can be used to achieve these expectations and outcomes from your operations. So first of all, you want to have GPS and GPS tracking. You want to have geofencing, and then you want to have telematics that will be able to give you real-time information about what is happening with your vehicles. And today, with the advantage of AI, you also want to deploy technologies that can help you automate the scheduling of your vehicles, the dispatch of your vehicles. So you, just like what we have with the ride-hailing applications, where we have a pool of vehicles, for example, and then there is a need. So someone triggers a need and say, we need a vehicle for a particular purpose. So with AI and IoT technologies, you're able to say, okay, this request goes straight into the pool, and then there are some vehicles that can fulfill this particular request. So the moment it gets in there, the vehicle that is most suitable to fulfill this request is picked up. So a prompt goes to the driver, and then the driver accepts that prompt, and then is able to deploy the vehicle immediately. So those are some of the technologies that are required to ensure that fleets perform optimally. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, please, a wonderful audience. Kindly clap. Thank you so much. I'm sure Dr. Ibrahim Lawa is listening, and he will be having some thoughts to run through his mind as someone who has who manages trucks, who don't just go around the country but travel across across Nigeria to other parts of Africa. We know we have the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which we believe should spur more of such kind of transit activities. Can you share with us, very quickly, from your position, the same issue we just had Dr. Dayo talk about, but more specifically, more crucially, about the operational bottlenecks limiting fleet efficiency. Now we're not just looking at Nigeria. Nigeria is a big player in Africa. We're looking at across that corridor, African corridor, Lagos, Abidjan, and other corridors. You know, just tell us. Thank you, sir. He's not muted. Can you hear us? If you can hear us, we can't hear you. Perhaps you are muted.
Okay, I can hear you.
You can go ahead, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So I thank you very much, and I'll say a good welcome to the earlier speakers. They've actually have done very well in pointing out the need for this very conference and why we really have to up our game when it comes to logistics and mobility in Africa, or Nigeria to be precise. Coming to your question, when you look at the case of transportation across other states, that is states in Africa, countries per se, you have the case of connectivity. Connectivity is really something that Africa needs for trade to be viable. That leads to integration. And bottlenecks that we have are basically the case of you have currency barriers, you have custom issues, there's no single custom understanding, and also the infrastructural issue. some across the route from Lagos to Abidjan, which is a coastal highway, transatlantic highway. You find that some portion, particularly between Ghana and Abidjan, still not yet in good shape. And ours from Merby Mile 2 to Badagry is still in a good, it's been improved because the construction is still ongoing. So when you see this down to challenges, there's also a case of a language barrier where we speak English, you have Francophone countries and the French issue. So drivers will also have that as a challenge. Providing quick solutions to this is basically a case of inclusivity, or then inclusivity here means you really have to pick the drivers and get them on board because they are the key operators, and these guys have to be well trained, and they train on safety, on how to communicate with the customer on the road, and also how to ensure that the culture of the organization is kept in high esteem, and that's speaking to performance and deliverables like safety and other issues. So technology plays a very key role in solving most of these problems. It allows you to have first-hand information on your truck as using the GPS, and you can also track their performance using data-driven analytics, that's predictive analytics, to understand what the turnaround will be and how your performance can be pushed up. And we know which driver you need to really speak to and which driver needs to have what kind of level of training because of the feedbacks that you have over there. Particularly for Dangote, what we did then was we had a fleet that was made up of drivers across West Africa, particularly Ghana, Togo, Nigeria, and the blend of that gave us fantastic results. And this should be the kind of engagement that we should be having if we're looking at the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement to be in place so that connectivity and accessibility in Africa will be easily be achieved. And once that is achieved, is trade as spotable on trade, and the next.
This morning, I live on the mainland, so I have to find a way to my way to the island this morning. And I was coming in, I was using a Hilux truck with my driver, and it was just two of us in the vehicle. And then we were on the third mainland bridge for over 45 minutes. And I saw so many other vehicles too, and we're looking at them. I tried to do a mental calculation to see the number of, single-use vehicles, compared to buses. And I could say maybe we have like 60, before you see one bus, you see about 60 private vehicles. And then I tried to also look inside those vehicles for those that are not tinted. And I could see that we had most of them just the driver, or maybe a driver and one other person, and then maybe 3 or 4 in some very few vehicles. So at the end of the day, we have overdependence on our roads. Okay, Lagos is a city that has a lot of water around, and if we have the others, we have inland waterways and probably rail well developed, we wouldn't have people going through the pain of spending so many hours in traffic just to get to work or get to wherever they have businesses to do. So it simply shows that there is a gap, because if it is possible for me to park my vehicle and then conveniently get to the island using a boat or using a train, I wouldn't want to go through that pain. So I think the infrastructure that we need are those that can allow a modal shift from the roads. So we need to look at developing rail and waterways. And this example I gave is just within Lagos, but it applies all over the country. So you see, most of the time, Lagos gets blocked when we have maybe a major road accident on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. One road accident, and then people are not able to get out of Lagos, and then the traffic begins to trickle to different other major roads in Lagos. I think about 3 weeks ago, Lagos was literally blocked, and a journey that takes 45 minutes from the island to the mainland took me over 6 hours. So we need to change the mode of transportation. We need to focus on infrastructure that will support inland waterways and also support rail transportation. Okay, so that's about infrastructure, but closely related to infrastructure will also be the policies.
Okay,
We have the policies.
Thank you.
Like our speaker has said, we have policies, very good ones, but the question is, why are they not being implemented?
That's a question for Mr. Reynolds. Thank you so much. So I was going to ask him exactly that question. Yeah, because because you started answering it earlier, or you talked about it earlier. But primarily, as we answer it, I'm concerned about collaboration. We know it's not something, our keynote speaker said it, our esteemed publisher said it when he was speaking. It's something that needs all categories of stakeholders, from the academia to the operators, from state government to private sector. So share from that light. Thank you.
If I get you well, what are you talking about? Collaboration? Or okay. Okay, good. I'll tell you, you are just making me to repeat myself. We do not need to reinvent the wheel. I said it at the beginning. We don't need policies. Policies are there. Policies are there and they are beautiful. All those things I said when I was speaking at the beginning, the areas of prioritization that I mentioned when I was talking earlier, I wasn't making a recommendation. They are already existent. So the question is not what are the policies that we need. Like I said, the question is, why are we not prioritizing them demonstrably that people can see? You understand? And when it comes to collaboration, of course, first and foremost, you must get the input of all the stakeholders. You engage everybody, let them come together. You know, there is what we call mutual distrust. Mutual distrust. So, first and foremost, stakeholder engagement in order to show transparency and discourage mutual distrust. Let people know, hey, this is what we want to do. And how do you achieve that? There are different frameworks for collaboration or working together. What is your MOU? You develop an MOU or an MOA, Memorandum of Understanding, or Memorandum of or Agreement, or the one you call Joint Working Agreement, if you like, B2B fora for public and private sectors to come together and debate, conferences to bring stakeholders together, stakeholders engagement, like I said, you know. You can even do exchange programs. Go on tour to understudy. Hey, we can go to London. Why don't we go and study underground? Hey, transport for London. You know, how does it work and stuff like this. These are the things that you consider when you're trying to collaborate with other people. These are the frameworks that you use for collaboration to succeed. I don't want to talk too much on that. Yes.
Thank you so much, sir. Even conferences that the esteemed BusinessDay group has put together today, to some level, provides opportunities for collaboration, networking.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Please, can we have a round of applause for him? You know, he's so passionate about this issue. You know, we are just discussing it here, but he is so passionate about it. You can see it. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. At this point, we're hearing from a very dear speaker who is joining us online. There are a lot of issues that affect fleet management. I recall one of the biggest operators, of course, he worked with Dangote Group, at some point said that that leg of the business was the biggest challenge to him, you know, and as someone who has led that operation, and also I'm asking because in the maritime space, one of the biggest challenges we have is not even at the seaport, sometimes it's at the corridor, you know, managing the operations of trucks and tankers on the port corridor. It adds to the ship vessel turnaround time, it adds to the delays, it adds to the ratings of our ports. So for you, as someone who has led in that space, I know there are issues, and we would like you to kindly tell us, again, the same question I asked him, what should we fix? How do we go about it? You know, there's the policy, there's the people, the human relations. How do we actually have a very seamless system where our fleets function optimally? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Let's coordinating various systems and putting systems in place. Drawing from the progress that have been made with the call-up systems in Papa ports and the ports, if you look at it, there is no, from when we have the gridlock because of traffic situation and congestion, and Nigeria has been losing so much revenue due to accessibility to the port. It was just a case of a system or coordination that allows trucks that calls in have strategic parks that they have to stay, and they need a certain call-up tickets that will allow to know, okay, this enables even the different terminals to plan. They know exactly what vessel is to be will be carrying out an operation, and how many trucks they will be requiring, and what's the trucks that will pass per day, and so coordination. So this is where technology also plays a very key role in putting up some of this, putting some of this in solving all these problems that we have. Yes, we might not have the adequacy of or sufficiency of infrastructure, but the little that we have, how properly, how are we really putting it into use? How is are we really driving efficiency? And what are we really doing to ensure that it's being optimized? The IoTs, the digitalization, and coming up of so many mobile digital platforms can help us to have first-hand data, and we can also do predictive analysis of this, and you can see that the operations will highly be scaled because the patterns will be understandable, and these patterns can actually be put into analysis, and you'll find out that we will get to know what should be the next possible situation, or what kind of chaos we'll be envisaging if we overflow this facility, and how best can we manage this situation so that within that singular framework or time that we have, the space, we're able to optimize and make gains and get efficiency. And the very true story about improvement in logistics is that anything you do that drives efficiency is clear profitability. You would make, it saves time, you get money. You enhance your operation, you make money. You ensure that there are no delays, you are making money. So this is what we need to do is basically collaborate with various stakeholders within an operation, understand the systems that each and every unit has, integrate the system into a simple system that works, and automate. With the automation, this becomes simpler, easier, and life will be way much better for each and every player. So, and to end, I want to end this with the note that you mentioned that one of the panelists is speaking very passionate about the things that he does. Logistics itself is a very, very tough field. Anybody you see picking logistics is very passionate about his field. There's a passion that drives that, and that's why we have thick skins, and we can really cope with that threats, the challenge, and still build solutions that work across the globe. And the case of prioritizing logistics is not a case that we should be talking about, because there's absolutely no sector of the economy that can make gains without logistics. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, please clap. Thank you. I think we are set to field questions now. We have exhausted the questions I have. Our panelists, some of them exhausted it in the first opportunity they had to speak. They are exhausted the 3 questions I had. So at this point, we'd love to hear from. Thank you. Can we have the mic? Is when you have the mic, just kindly introduce yourself. Let's know who you are and be specific with your questions. Thank you.
Right, good morning. I'm Olale Kandani. So my question is directed to Dr. Samuel. So you gave a solution on modal shift solution, sir. So I want to ask, how soon do you think this can work in our nation? And how can we solve the problem of flexibility when it comes to modal shift solution? Because I think flexibility is one of the challenges that we faced a lot, and maybe that's why people really diverse to road transportation mostly. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. Okay, if I understand you clearly, you want to know how soon I think this modal shift would happen. Okay, so we already have so many initiatives being implemented to achieve modal shift. In Lagos, for example, I believe most of us have heard of the Omi-Eko project, which is going to come on stream very soon if everything goes according to plan. That's going to help a lot. We also have so many terminals within Lagos, very good terminals, but visiting those terminals, you'll find out that there are some issues that still need to be addressed. Most of these terminals don't have, these inland waterway terminals, most of them don't have enough space. And then there are some facilities that would ensure that these terminals work optimally and attract most of those who are using road to come to use inland waterways, for example. We also have the rail, or then the capacity is not enough to cater for the population that we have in Lagos. But we are hoping, of course, that government is looking at it. We all had the Honorable Commissioner speak about it. As a matter of fact, he gave us statistics and said about 1% of the population of Lagos is making use of road, of inland waterways and rail combined. So it means that it's an issue that is well understood by the government, and we're hoping that with time they would put efforts in place to ensure this shift. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tayo. We'll only be able to take one more question. So who would that have? Whose hand would be? We would
Good
love
afternoon.
if we can get gender by. Yes, thank you. I'm sorry, sir.
Apologies.
Please go ahead.
My name is Toyosi Sani. I'm a validation engineer based in Dublin, Ireland, with a, I guess, personal interest in logistics and real estate and communication. Thank you so much for the knowledge that you have shared today to every panelist and to BusinessDay for providing the room to have this conversation. In talking about the regulations, as you said, they're already on ground and it's already been done. So thank you for highlighting the danger of the term prioritizing. As we've discussed, funding of infrastructure, private sector involvement, and modal shift. My question, as soon as you were speaking about the cities should be built for people and not for vehicle, Amsterdam came in mind immediately because it's a city that literally just bikes, and it's enforced nearly, because if you want to take a taxi, you will pay like 4 times the price. So even you yourself, you go and take the bike. You learn to ride this and to learn to cycle. In that case, my question would be directed to Mr. Reynolds. What would you say that is lacking in companies and in personal lives that we're getting wrong in implementing these set regulations that are already on ground? Because I know you have said it so many times, we have the regulations. So what are we failing in implementing these regulations?
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. I'll just give you 2. One is the belief that going in an SUV is a status symbol. You know, we need a behavioral change. Number one, that attitude is a blockade to this effort. You understand? And secondly, I told you here of a transport policy that stayed for 60 years. First draft 1965, July 31, 2025, finally passed by FEC, revised in 1993. Why was that like that? The sincerity of purpose of government to implement is also there. We must not politicize these things. You understand me? It must not be politicized for one reason or the other. So people must change their mindset, believing that I must have 5 cars in my compound. And you see, to the question that he also asked, that how soon can this shift come, even if you have a policy and it says, hey, we know it's good to shift and blah, blah, blah. Nobody can answer that question. It depends on the speed with which government is willing to provide those alternative modes, make them ready. And not just that, pricing is very important, because if I can go by water and I can go by rail at the same price, you will not be able to influence my decision, because I can go with any which one. But you also put in a policy that will restrict me. If I want to go on the road, I know how much I will pay to park my car. I know how much, all these kind of things. So nobody will tell you, just like she said, before on your own, you make up your mind that, look, I'm not going by road anymore. I want to go either by water or by rail. You understand? So, attitudinal, our attitude and perhaps the non-readiness of government to.
Thank you so much. It has been an enjoyable panel session. We had agreed that Nigeria's mobility and logistics sector and its future depends on coordinated investment, commitment by the government, continuous policy reforms, technology-led fleet modernization, practical collaboration between government, private sector across board, the academia, the institutes. And we had also agreed that there's a need for a strong pathway for a more efficient, resilient, and competitive logistics ecosystem. Thank you, Team Business Day, for having us.
Thank you very much. That was a very, very insightful session. And I appreciate the panelists and, of course, our moderator. Please let's give them another round of applause. We'll be moving into the next panel quite immediately. And I would like to start by calling our moderator. I'd like to start by calling our moderator, Mr. Bethel Olujobi, who is the trade correspondent at Business Day Media Limited. Please let's give him a round of applause. And to our first panelist in the building, Dr. Ogochukwu Ugboma, who is the Dean, School of Transport and Logistics, LASU and GVC North and West Africa. She is an associate professor and dean of the School of Transport and Logistics at Lagos State University, with over 15 years of academic and industry-focused experience, a leading expert in transport, logistics, and supply chain management. She's committed to integrating students into the sector through transformative teaching, research, and consultancy. Her work promotes sustainable urban mobility, effective labor relations, and innovative logistics solutions that advance social and economic progress. Please let's give her another round of applause. And I'll be calling the next panelist, who is Tunji Gomez. He's the Director, Commercial Business Development, DP World Logistics, West Africa. He's an accomplished logistics, supply chain, and commercial business leader with over 20 years of experience delivering high-impact solutions across global and African markets. Since 2021, he has led commercial business development at DP World Logistics, West Africa, overseeing business development, sales strategy, solution design, account management, marketing, and CSR-driven growth, customer engagement, and operational excellence for one of the world's leading trade enablers. Let's give him another round of applause. And I'll be calling our next panelist, who is Amit Bose. Now, he is the CFO, Valency Agro Nigeria Limited. So let's give him a round of applause. With almost 2 decades of progressive experience in finance, strategy, and operations, Amit Bose is a seasoned finance executive known for driving profitability, strengthening financial governance, and enabling sustainable business growth across multinational organizations. His career spans globally respected companies such as KPMG, ITC Limited, Olam International, and Valency Agro Nigeria Limited, where he currently serves as the Chief Financial Officer and consistently delivering high-impact results in complex and fast-paced business environments. Let's give him another round of applause. And to our final panelist today, we have Adefola Amao, who is the founder and CEO of Grid Code Company. He is the founder and a digital infrastructure that has been ahead of the curve since 2018, when it was launched and patented globally. GridCode provides a high-precision digital location system that enables logistics, e-commerce, and service providers to cut delivery failures, accelerate routes, and serve customers with unprecedented accuracy. Let's give him a round of applause. As he's not in the building, he's ably represented by Mr. Ayodeji Agbola, who's the Chief Business Officer, GridCode. Let's give him a round of applause. Over to you, Bethel.
Thank you very much, Kemi, for that very deserving presentation and introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Come on, we're discussing mobility. We cannot be stiff. Can you just shake your body a little, just move a little. All right, welcome to the second panel session for today. We had a very wonderful first panel. We hope to continue the discussions and just come to very agreeable conclusions on the future of logistics in Nigeria. I want to welcome everyone once again. There's a lot myriad of experience and insights that we have on the stage this morning. So this panel session will be focusing on driving last mile efficiency through innovation, partnerships, and policy frameworks. Now, how many of us have had have had something delivered directly to our houses? Have you had anything delivered directly to your house? Yes. Didn't you like that? You love the convenience of that, right? So that is what last mile really is about. The whole process from the shipping directly to the keke man or the driver, the dispatch rider that takes your goods, it's kept safe and brings it directly to your house. So that entire process is that last mile. And in Nigeria, only very few people get to enjoy that, mostly those in the urban areas. So we hope the discussions here would come to bring up new ideas to ensure that is even improved much upon, so it is more inclusive for everyone. Welcome once again. So getting directly into the discussions, I'll start with you, Dr. Ogochukwu. So let's talk innovation, technology. Given Nigeria's growing urbanization and the persistent delivery challenges that we experience, which, with emerging technologies, that should not be, right? I mean, we have digital platforms, we have smart routing, automation, data-driven delivery. From where you stand, in your view, these technologies be applied in practical and scalable ways that it improves last mile delivery for everyone and enhance overall logistics efficiency across Nigeria? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you to Business Day for the opportunity to come to learn and exchange ideas and knowledge. I like that you said some of these applications are already deployed. How do we scale? And how do we make it transform lives? And before I start, a lot of people hear last mile, last mile, last mile. And I know so many people don't know it is quantifiable. How many of us know it's quantifiable? None of you, right? So when you say last mile, in supply chain, we're talking about between 6 to 9 kilometers of the distance that you cover for the last mile. It's not just a concept. It has a figure to it. And I hope at least if we don't learn anything today, let's learn that one. Okay, so we've had digital platforms. It is ongoing. A lot of logistics firms have digital platforms. But how do we scale? Because we need to have some form of integration. Because we see a lot of fragmentation in logistics business. How do you integrate the MSMEs? How do you integrate the transport operators, the courier operators to be on a platform? So that, because there's data that supports this. I think it's McKinsey Global Institute that highlights that if we have about 50% integration of logistics systems, we can reduce delivery time up to 50%. So that is one start of scalability. Then we look at other things. We're talking about geoanalytics. A lot of companies also deploy geoanalytics. And what is it all about? Having predictive traffic models that can tell you that there's congestion on this route, so you need to avoid this route. But there's a bigger problem, like you said. It is mostly the people in the urban areas that enjoy last mile deliveries. Now, how do we make addresses to be coherent? We need to have our addresses, because you can have number 10 Salami Street in Surulere, then you go to Ajegunle, you still have it. How do we coordinate and make those things to align and be coherent? So we have technology to do that, and we should start looking at those things. Then we should also look at integrating data too, because another statistics that I saw in United Nations projecting that Nigeria's urbanization by 2030 will be up 60%. So data is the new oil for urban logistics. So with that data, with we harvesting and utilizing, not just harvesting the data, utilizing the data, it's going to enable us to plan very well. And I think I should stop there now.
Thank you much. A round of applause for her. All right, still on the issue of innovation, Mr. Tunji, you are in the business, right, of logistics and cargo movement and all that. Nigeria's ports remain stifled by certain things like cargo evacuation and the last mile delivery that faces some form of bottleneck or hindrance, we can call that. So from your perspective on things, and as a leader in railway operations as well, what innovations do you see, digital systems, automations, and the whole shebang, what are the most critical to improving the cargo movements from the port and to ensure that these deliveries are efficiently made nationwide?
Thank you for the question. it's very clear that this is a very hot topic. I was actually on another panel yesterday, and this was a similar conversation about what is going on with regard to port operations. First of all, I will always take the opportunity to introduce DP World. DP World is a global trade facilitator which is headquartered in Dubai with the regional headquarters in Johannesburg. DP World has 4 businesses in Nigeria: a logistics business, a market access consumer business that supports balancing, a market access healthcare business, and a freight forwarding business. We go to market basically saying that we can help beneficial cargo owners move from factory floor to customer door. Dr. Ogochukwu spoke about this term, last mile, and how it's quantifiable. I remember being in a healthcare summit or conference, and the conversation was not even last mile, it was last millimeter, right? Because you're talking about the delivery of healthcare commodities that literally have to go to health facilities in very, very areas. So to your question on our viewpoint, right? I think Dr. Ogochukwu already spoke to some of that. There needs to be, and I believe previous speakers also spoke to that, there needs to be this platform that allows one single view, right? There needs to be a platform that a beneficial cargo owner can literally go into it, look at where their container is on the sea, for example, look at what is going on from a customs processing point of view, potentially also identify which 2PLs would be connected to those containers, right? To be able to pull those containers off the port areas. And let me then add to that a multimodal logistics system, which is not only reliant on the road network, because we know we have challenges with the road network, right? I think the CEO of the Nigerian Railway Corporation was saying yesterday that you can add 1 million more kilometers to our roads, we will still have congestion. I mentioned something yesterday, which is, it's a term called takt time, right? Which is the rate of production that is required to meet demand. So if you think about the takt time in this sort of port or logistics kind of view, we require a takt time that is equal, from a rate point of view, equal to what is being pulled out of the ship to what needs to go to the last millimeter, right? And that takt time will take into consideration multimodal operations. It'll look at the seaways, it'll look at the railways, it'll look at the roads, it'll look at, dare I say, even drones, right? Because there is drone technology that allows deliveries to take place. So there needs to be a synchronization of what I'd like to call takt time in all of these logistics operations. And there are tools and platforms that enable that. DP World has a platform called Cargo's Flows, which gives a beneficial cargo owner the visibility, the reliance, the reliability, the assurance that their goods that have been put onto a certain container, right, will get to where it needs to get to. There is also the ability to be able to collaborate with other logistics value chain partners that can tap into cargo flows, right? Which allows that single view, that single visibility, predictability, reliability. And I believe having such platforms, which also has a customs angle to it, a customs play to it, having those types of platforms operating within an environment, which also includes cross-border management, because obviously AFCFTA is a big thing for all of us now. Having such platforms enables that takt time, enables that flow, enables that seamless operation taking place. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tunji, for that. Can we give him a round of applause? Very wonderful insight. I'll come, Mr. Mead. I'm going to take this discussion from the angle of moving very highly sensitive agro. You're into that business. So I would like your perspective on this. Moving agricultural goods, food, and all that from the rural areas to the urban markets is a high stakes environment nowadays due to high distribution costs. The linkages are poor. So from where you sit and from the experience you've had in the industry, what are some of your suggestions? What are the innovative models that you think would be a game changer and just bring back the money and keep people in business?
Good afternoon, everyone. So, few things. There are a few things, innovations, and there are a few basic things. So first, I will come to the basic things. When you say moving the goods from the rural locations to the urban locations, or even for that purpose to the ports for the export of any agricultural commodities. First and foremost, what is important is that when we say logistics, it is not only essential that the fact is restricted to the movement of the goods on the roads. It also boils down to building the infrastructures and the warehouses. Today, one of the biggest challenges in moving the goods is that if there is a deficiency of trucks or for any purpose, if you are not able to move the goods, you should be aware of the fact on how to stop, especially the perishable goods, from being destroyed or from getting rotten. So it is very important that warehouses and cold storages are built near locations in places where such agricultural products or such perishable goods are grown. Like if you want to export maybe some sesame or soybean, you should have the cold storages or warehouses built in places like Kano where such crops are grown. In Karuna, if you want to export ginger or if you want to bring ginger from Karuna to the rest of the country, you should have warehouses or cold storages in such locations near the farm gates so that the goods can move at the right time and the farmers or for that purpose, people who are growing do not lose money because proper logistics channels are not available. Secondly, to move the goods, as you said, from any rural areas or for that purpose, from the farm gates to the urban areas, it is very important that there are minimum loss of goods, and to do that, the trucks or any of the vehicles which are operating, someone was telling in the morning, they should be backed with proper fuel sensor and telematics. While fuel sensor on one hand, Valency, besides being, while many of you in the room may not know, Valency, besides being an agro-commodity company, also has a second company which is called GSES, which is also a logistics company, and that operates almost 150 trucks in the country, with a prospect to definitely import more trucks in the country. So all our 150 trucks as we speak today are backed with fuel sensors and telematic solutions. How does it help? When the sesame or for that soybean is moving from Karuna, when cocoa is moving from Ecom, or when cashew is moving from Kogi state to the ports in Lagos, be it Apapa, Tin Can, or for that purpose now in Lekki, all our trucks are backed with fuel sensors and telematics. While fuel sensors tells the fleet managers who are tracking the trucks that whether there is any abnormal fuel consumption or not, telematics at the same time helps them to monitor the trucks. It helps them to see whether the trucks are following the proper route or not, and whether the driver is driving in the right way, whether there is any harsh braking, whether there is any idle timing or not, and whether there is a requirement for route divergence or the driver has taken the route divergence at his own wishes. So the telematics and fuel sensors together actually act as a smart solution for any fleet movement from anywhere in the country to any other location in the country to see whether the trucks are moving correctly or not. And how does it help? It helps actually the logistics channels to connect to the market, and that is the time where the true competitiveness of the logistics business is built. Today, we should remember that in the logistics business, for running any trucks or any vehicle, of the total cost incurred, 40 to 45% of the cost is incurred on the cost of the fuel. And if that fuel consumption is tracked effectively through the fuel sensors, and if any person sitting watches the telematics in the right manner, you can actually have a big control over your logistics business and avoid any controllable wastage in the business. So it is only a meeting of these basic controls which are already in place, which can put you at a far more advantage and build a proper competitive environment where businesses can grow, and at the same time your customers or stakeholders will also feel happy about it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Amit, for that. I do completely agree that we need digital innovation actually brings transparency. We can track what we actually putting our money into. So yes, it's very important. And I think something that's based on all we've said so far has been the front end. So I'm coming to you now on the back end, Mr. Ayodeji. Nigeria continues to face some of the problems that we've highlighted today. Which of the tools do you think we need to put in motion yesterday to achieve the goals that we've set? Which of the tools, routing, mapping solutions, and all that? Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. First, I'd like to thank Mr. Tunji for introducing us to the last millimeter. That was super. And that leads to what I want to talk about at Grid Code, which is where we're happy to support be a sponsor of the event as well. Yes, sir. At Grid, we provide technology that gives you what is called a simple address. Now, you started by telling us that how many people have received a delivery where the rider is calling you, I'm in front of your house, and then you find out that he's in front of number 12 somewhere else. Have you all experienced that? Absolutely. That's because our addressing systems are manual. At Grid, we digitize addresses. You can sit in your house and use our application to generate an 8-character digital code that you give to your logistics driver. It brings you straight to that location. This is what the definition of last millimeter is, because now we're no longer relying on that manual address that is in front of your house, but relying on a digital address powered by GPS, sitting on longitude and latitude, and it brings everyone for accurate delivery to your doorstep. And this, I think, is the reason why we're here today. We can already tell by just adapting these solutions how many minutes you're saving your riders, because now they're no longer having to call to say, where is this address? They know exactly where it is. And with our solutions, a rider who has 12 places to go, we have smart routing, because now we know exactly where he needs to go. He's not going to have to rely on phone calls to actually reach these last miles. And this is a globally patented product, actually. So we're very, very open to bringing this to anyone in the room, because at the end of the day, this is what helps to shave off all of the time that is lost. And like Mr. Amit said, 40% of the cost in the logistic journey is spent on fuel, right? When a driver knows where they're going, they're not spending extra on fuel, especially because now it's millimeter accurate, right? And with this, we're able to provide either on the enterprise level, we have APIs that industries can use, and even on the front end where people can use it as mobile apps and things like that. So we provide that last mile accuracy for everyone who is interested in pinpoint accuracy to wherever they want to go. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ayodeji, for that. Okay, we have a mic here. I will come back to you, Dr. Oguchukwu. You are the Dean of the Faculty of
of the School of Transport and Logistics at the Lagos State University. Now, all we've said here very in the past minutes have all been, and also since the session began, have all been very optimistic. But we have to agree that it is expensive to run, and not just that, but it requires skill. It requires a lot of skill. And let's talk talent then. Where does education come in? How do we ensure that with the current shortage of skilled labor, that universities, that government agencies, and even private companies, private individuals can ensure that they collaborate to train the workforce that we need to get this future that we're looking for?
Okay, thank you very much. We're talking about urban logistics, right? And logistics generally, there are skills that are needed. We hear Lagos State government is talking about electric vehicles now. Okay, so we need technicians, right, to manage those electric vehicles for maintenance. We need professional dispatch riders. We need data analysts, right? We need fleet managers. We need warehousing managers, specialists in data inventory, and all that. How do we get them? Let me first of all, I always express my dismay with what the disservice that the government has done to the educational system. The dichotomy between HND, BSc, and all that. They have gradually killed technical and vocational colleges in Nigeria. Now, if you don't have a BSc, is a problem. Even organizations will not even hire you. Why do we do such disservice to ourselves? The university now, but the good news is that Lagos State University is one of the, let me say, 3 universities in Nigeria that has started BSc Logistics and Supply Chain Management in the university. Thanks to international support, the Queen Foundation, they moved mightily with the NUC to integrate the curriculum into the university system. So Lagos State University, Kaduna State University, and Federal University of Technology, Owerri, they are offering BSc Logistics and Supply Chain Management. That is a fresh start. The education. And the next thing, like what we're saying about bringing the knowledge, the university is doing that. The practice now lies with the private sector and the other organizations. So we're just about wrapping up a partnership training program with Gavi. Gavi is supporting Zipline in 3 states, Bayelsa, Cross River, and Kaduna State. Now, these drones that are used to ensure that essential medicines get to hard-to-reach areas. I worked with Cross River State, and I'm sure many of you here you cannot imagine that in this same Nigeria, there are places without access. There are towns, there are villages without access. If you don't leave this Lagos State, you're doing yourself a disservice. I'm telling you, no, truth be told. So the main priority for Gavi is to have what we call the 0-dose children. What is this 0 dose? Many of the women here cannot imagine that there are children in this same country of ours that have not gotten 1 vaccination shot for the first year of their children's lives. I'm sure you can imagine that. And that is what international bodies are trying to ensure, that we decrease the number of 0-dose children we have in Nigeria. And they've started working with these states. So why I'm bringing this is that we even need drone pilots. It is a skill. And because of that, we are trying to partner with the School of Transport and Logistics, trying to partner with Zipline to send some of our students for internship. It is part of the skills that, so we're doing quite a lot. Now, the universities are there to impart this knowledge. What should the private sector do? They should be like, not just observers, they should be like co-creators in running these curriculums. They should, come to the universities sometimes to impart some of the knowledge of real world situations. Because when you leave the four corners of the university, the story is different. Real life challenges will hit you. How do you, go about solving them? Okay, so we have such partnerships. From Monday, we started on Monday 8th to Friday. We have Kaduna State University BSc Logistics and Supply Chain students with us. Yesterday, we call it our Industry Week. So on Thursday is the climax, which is the Industry Day proper. Yesterday, they went to APMT, and I can tell you that many of them were amazed with the level of automation in shipyard operations and cargo handling operations. It is something that we do to expose these children, to real life situations. It continues today. On Thursday, we invited some of the stakeholders in the private sector to come and interact with these students. And another thing they can do is to take up internships. So it's a 4-year program. The 3rd year, they go for their industrial training. And we ask them to please ensure that these children are exposed, not the one you will send students there and they are your errand boys and girls, go and buy me a ati bread and all that. Yeah, they could do that, it's part of training, but then let's not overlook the priorities. And then again, you're raising your microphone. Okay, then again, the private sector can also help with software licenses, because these are some of the things that we need in teaching. I saw a viral video some time ago when, I don't know the states or the country, let me not put myself in a dilemma. So the teacher was teaching them computer science. I think he wanted to show them the keyboard. So all the children were drawing the laptop on their desks with chalk. No, we don't want to do that, please. Okay. Some of them had the opportunity to engage with simulators at APMT yesterday. Okay, and we have driving simulators too. These are some of the things that you have your CSRs. You need to leave legacies. Partner with us. This is an opportunity and I'm beckoning. Let's have some of these things. Come and take up 1 or 2 things in the university, in the School of Transport and Logistics. Let it be part of what your legacy that you have left in advancing the study of logistics and supply chain management in LASU. Again, if you know where LASU is situated, Amit, this should interest you, because Iyaniba is within our environment. And every day I leave the school, I weep. The level of food loss that we have. I don't even know if the data we have on food loss is correct, because that is just one major market in Lagos State. When I used to live around Oyimbo, I used to work around there. That killed my spirit, And I remember Mr. Ray said something about attitude. I don't know how we'll start changing this evil, this witchcraft in us. Some of these women will rather see that the fruits rot than to reduce price and sell it. I say it's witchcraft because I can't imagine it. So these are some of the things, challenges in supply chain that we also need to address. Hunger is in the land, yet we see food wasting. How do we address that? So, my dear, it's like a tripartite, right? The university gives the knowledge, the private sector grants the practice, then the government will give us the enabling policy to achieve that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tuku. Give her a warm hand for that. Very quickly, I'll come to you, Mr. Tunji. DP World works with government agencies, as private operators and partners across the entire value chain. What form of public-private or private-private partnership do we need to set things straight? I mean, when the document is finally drafted to be signed, what would it contain?
Thank you, Bethel. So, interestingly, and I will use the name DP World, even though it operated under a different name, has been running 2 federal government-owned warehouses for the last 6 years under a public-private partnership. These warehouses were donated by the Global Fund and what used to be the USAID, the United States government. DP World has operated, maintained, and managed these warehouses on behalf of the federal government of Nigeria, the Federal Ministry of Health. So we have an example of how it works. We have an example of, having done this before. We have an example of the partnering approach that took place between the private sector, donors or governments external from Nigeria, and the federal government of Nigeria. When you ask what is required to be in, such an agreement, I would say it's no different to any agreement that you would have with an organization that you do business with. If I were to add 1 or 2 things, there must always be something that shows value back to the federal government of Nigeria, right? If the federal government, who is providing the environment and typically also providing resources in some cases, right, does not see value in such a structure, then it's going to fall to pieces. What do I mean by value? Value could come either in kind or it could come financially. So I'll give you an example. These 2 warehouses that I'm referring to, when the utilization of these facilities hits a particular threshold, right? Any revenue that is recorded above that threshold is then shared with the federal government of Nigeria. For the federal government to, through the TSA, right, to basically fund other projects, right, that they have or that they see as important within the agency or the parastatal. So there must always be something that gives back to the government. In such an agreement, the external parties must also see that the impact which they expected to have at the onset of the project, that impact is recorded, it is measured, and you can see that it's actually occurring, okay? For the private sector is there for multiple reasons. 1 is to make money, 2 is to give back, right? If the private sector does not see such a mechanism in place, then it's also not going to work. If you think about it from a port, you talked about railway operations before. Today, I think you mentioned, Reynolds, if I can address you that way, that the Honorable Commissioner said, is it 1% of people are using waterways and rail. I think that's what it said, right? So consider what that basically means when we're talking about a public-private partnership. I do not believe that, or maybe it was done, so I would not be quoted, that when this railways were set up, I do not believe that these kinds of expectations, even if they were set up, have been measured or monitored to ensure that the value that was expected is realized, right? So if you think about it, you have, and I think I heard this yesterday as well from the CEO of the Nigerian Railway Corporation, that if you want to bring your own locomotives, right, you can do that, right? And you can run your own rail service, okay? If you think about that kind of operation, you would potentially have a provider of the wagons, right, that is potentially offshore. You would have a business, a logistics business here, or a private equity firm, a partner that would want to provide that type of service. And then you'll need the Nigerian Railway Corporation because they have the infrastructure. But that infrastructure, as it were, also needs to be improved and enhanced to be able to accommodate the demands that will come from the port itself, okay? And those demands that are coming from the ports, I think we've all seen all the images and videos outside of Nigeria, where I take Mombasa, for example, right? The port of Mombasa. You've got that type of setup where you've got rail, you've got your road, you've got all the different things that you require to enable tact time, to enable that flow to happen. And when you're getting that flow happening, I think our finance guys will say, or our commercial guys will say, that every venture you go into must return on the investment. So if that ROI mechanism is also not in the PPP agreement, right, then it's going to fall on its face. So all of these different things need to be in these agreements, need to be set up at the onset so that everybody that is involved in this PPP is clear on what they're there to do and what they're going to benefit from it and what value the environment and the government is going to realize.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tunji, for that. Can I give a round of applause? And also, if you have any questions from all the discussions we've been having so far, you can draft it. You get a chance to ask it right after this session. Mr. Amit, a lot has been said about collaboration, which is truly important. But you would agree with me that not everyone on the value chain, the agro value chain, gets the fattest bone. I've spoken to many farmers or some farmers who say that they get the least of the profit because the middlemen get the bulk, the fat, right? So how do we ensure that when building collaboration between the farmers, between the transporters, collection hubs, the logistic companies, how do we ensure that we structure it? We structure it in the sense that at the end of the day, the financial mechanisms, the joint investments are effective, profitable for all, and sustainable.
So I agree to your point that not the profit does not pass through everyone in the value chain, and sadly enough, as you said, probably farmers are the most neglected lots who are actually the responsible for giving us foods. And so I agree to your point. So the thing is that in most of the cases, companies like us purchase from the licensed buying agents. But right now, as we speak, like Valence is the first company in Nigeria actually who have got the certification to produce organic cashew in the country. In a sense, we are purchasing organic cashew and then we are processing it from our factories and it will be exporting it to the world and with proper traceability norms. So in this case, what we are doing is that we are actually plotting the fields and the farmers from whom we can purchase such organic cashews. And the main purpose for this is to make sure of two things. One is the traceability, so that any person even who is opening the cashew in Europe can actually scan the barcode and know the batch number where this of the cashew, and based on that batch number, it can be traced back to the Nigerian farm where the cashew was grown. And to do this entire project, what we have done is that we have plotted farmers, and we have seen that how these farmers can actually help us to supply the cashew. And at the same time, we are also working with different banks and financial institutions to make sure that these farmers are adequately funded so that they do not have to sell the products at a cheap price and the middleman gets the profit. So it's both ways that we are trying. On one hand, we are trying to look at the farmers along with their land, and on the other hand, we are also trying to tie such farmers to financial institutions, because a single farmer may not be easily, have an easy access to the loans or financials which he needs. But on the other hand, a consortium of such farmers or a consortium of such licensed buying agents whom we know and whom companies like Valency can introduce to banks will have a better bargaining power at the time of selling their produce.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mate. We don't have much time, so I think only two questions from me now. One for Mr. Ayodeji, and then one question that everyone gets to answer. So the question for you, Mr. Adeji, is drawing from Grid Code's practical experience, how can enhanced location data and precise digital addressing improve first-time delivery success, reduce delays, and ensure that Nigeria's dense and complex urban centers are properly serviced?
All right, thank you very much. That is right in the middle of what we do right now. We basically operate a two-sided market where we're trying to ensure that the receiver of a package first is educated about converting their natural addresses to a digital one. That's the first thing. And sometimes that education can also come from the market side, the person who is coming to deliver to them, because this person is motivated to get there on time, spend less time on the phone trying to find them, spend less fuel trying to locate where it is. I mean, I've ordered food on Child Deck where they were taking my food elsewhere before. I'm sure some of us have experienced that before. So first-time delivery can be optimized with grid codes because we are not introducing what is not already happening. The rider is already going to have to call you. And in that conversation, we can educate the rider to say, send this link to this person. They click on it, it generates a grid code, they send it back to you, and they get accurate navigation straight to your doorstep. That is something that is not outside of what is already happening. So we're not reinventing anything, we're just educating the participants on digitizing their processes. And once that has happened once and successfully, it's done. That grid code continues to become what they can use for every other delivery that they have to do. Secondly, because we are agnostic, we're not choosing what maps application that you can use. Anyone who is going to be using the grid code system will be able to use whatever navigation system they're using to be able to map to where they're going. Even from the conversation you were having just now, Mr. Amit, plotting your farmers on their farms, grid code can be used in that scenario where you know exactly where they are because you've been able to use grid codes to locate their farms. And that becomes data that is sitting in your own enterprise backends and all of that. So we know, we've experienced it, that the first time deliveries can be improved using our solution and our technology.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chinji. Now, to wrap up everything that has been said, after all has been said and done, from your stand, this is a question for everyone. From your standpoint, what do you believe are the policy and structural changes that are most critical to ensure that logistics, last mile logistics nationwide is inclusive, safe, and effective. I'll start from you, Dr. Oguchukwu.
Thank you very much. Well, for starters, I think we need to have some level of standardization. Standardization in training, whether be it the riders, be it the courier, and we need to have a framework that integrates and not that fragments. And I'm always careful when it comes to this inclusivity, because my gender may think, this woman is not understanding it. But then, yes, there are barriers. But I also want to encourage my gender not to be laid back. You need to have the adequate training for you to be at par, okay, with other players in the sector. And we will not also deny the fact that women also have some level of requirements. So we need to provide safe space for that inclusivity to, to progress, and have some form of system where, harassment and all that can be addressed. Let there be a system of reporting, a system of addressing harassment that may occur in the workplace, especially. And I'll also want us to, because majority of the people that affect the GDP of this country, whether we want to accept that or not, are the informal sector. So I think that we need to integrate and bring these people together, whether be it in cooperative, as a cooperative, and even have a registration to know who they are, where they are. Let me give you an instance. Sorry, I'm taking, but I took my women, the women in logistics and transport, WILAT, yes, to Ekbe Fish Market. Let me tell you, so many women there may not be able to write their names if you ask them. But these women know the different names of every fish species in that river. Some of them swim like fish, the younger girls. So we need to bring, they must not go into the university. And they're doing a lot to the GDP of this Lagos state and even the nation in general. So let me leave it there. We need to bring together the informal sector.
Thank you very much, Dr. Oguchukwu, for your insight. Mr. Tunji.
Thank you, Bethel. Let me start by saying I believe there needs to be, for each individual, right, a personal desire to want to be greater than, right? You asked about what is critical. If as a nation, we do not want to be greater than, if we do not have a desire to move from where we are today, then anything that we put in place is not going to work, okay? But then to add to that, I will say people, process, technology, infrastructure, critical. The right people in the right places with the right thinking, right, can move us from where we are today to where we should be without even doing anything. Process. What needs to happen in what sequence, right? And when and where. Technology, there's a lot of it out today. Let's employ the technology that has been put in our hands and rely less on paper, because we duplicate efforts with paper a lot. And we're very comfortable with it. We have challenges with change. Change is very difficult, but it's the most constant thing, right? Infrastructure. If we're saying that we want to be greater than, let's look at what I'm glad to hear that, we've got all automation, APMT is doing what it should be doing, okay? But that's probably a single instance. We need that to replicate everywhere to allow us to be able to say, instead of relying on trucks to be moving all of these different containers, right? Some of them not moving safely, some of them always falling off one bridge, right? Let's move all of that cargo via a different means, be it waterways, be it railways, okay? So people, process, technology, infrastructure, and the will and desire to be greater than. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tunji. Mr. Amit, your thoughts?
So taking a cue from what Mr. Tunji has said, I believe the first thing that needs to be improved even before technology, if we have to drive the last mile solution efficiently, is the roads and the infrastructures. So if we want to bring in some technology and maybe bring in the concept of quick delivery service, like now I hear from many of my friends in India and even in the media that in India there's something called quick delivery, which happens within 5 to 10 minutes instead of 1 hour. And that's a specialized service. But the question is, do we have the roads to implement that in Nigeria? Technology is not a problem. The technology can be built, but first the roads need to be built. I still remember, I don't know how many of you in this room have actually traveled from Abuja to Karuna. I don't know, by road, yeah. So all those of you who have traveled, in fact I have also traveled, and every time I travel on that road for any meeting, the first thing I think after reaching Karuna is whether I should take a medicine for my waist pain or should I go and attend the meeting. So I mean, I believe even people who have not traveled have understood what I meant. So that's why the infrastructure needs to be put in place for technologies to come and take the advantage of it. Secondly, today we have a lovely port, the Lekki port has come up, and what I understand from that port is capable of handling much larger vessels than what today Apapa and Tin Can handle. But the problem is the connectivity. The connectivities across ports need to be improved. Like just what he said, every time you go to some ports, I remember when I was staying in Apapa, and when I used to go from Apapa to Tin Can, in most of the cases, I used to see one side of the road is blocked, and there was always one way which was a two-way. So every time I had to explain to the police why I've taken the other way to go to the port. So I mean, these are the challenges and these are the infrastructures which first needs to be built for the efficient working of the last mile solution. Technologies will follow and technologies will come. But what about building the connectivity and the infrastructures, building on the roads, building on probably the rail connectivity from the various centers to the port so that the goods can come in quickly and you don't incur a high amount of damage, because today logistics cost account for 40% of the cost of the businesses. And why does that happen? That happens not because the logistics actually, definitely there is a cost to the logistics, but it also happens because of various inefficiencies that are there which we need to curb. And once those inefficiencies in the system are curbed, the last mile solution will be much better with technologies coming in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Amit.
All right, thank you, everyone. I think that policy-wise, Nigeria is like a train that is at the train station about to move. It's fully loaded, but it's just waiting for its driver. Yeah, Mr. Reynolds said it. We've had policies, since ages, and we're just not implementing them. The presidential decree number 5 specifically states about local content, local technologies built by Nigerians for solving Nigerian problems. I think that business owners need to actually take that up and start to implement or start to create advocacy around these types of issues, because the policies are there. If we, the practitioners, don't actually, push for it to be implemented, we really do have ourselves to blame. So I think I'll just leave it there.
Oh, thank you very much, everyone. Can we give a very big hand to the panel? Thank you, everyone. Do we have time for questions? One question. I have one question here. Okay, I see another hand and another hand. So the question, I'll start with the one in my hand. And it says, it wasn't very clear, but it says, how do you prioritize urgent tasks in a busy operation? That's what it says. So, do anyone want to answer that?
There's something I say to myself every day. Act on the important, don't react to the urgent. I think you will know what's important and what's urgent.
Okay, thank you. So that means we have more time for questions. Yeah, I'll take one. Okay, fine. Very quickly, 2 minutes.
Okay,
each.
my name is Dr. Amusa. My question, I will take it from what the doctors Oguma mentioned around helping people that are not at our level of operations. How do we bring them up? Because if you look at this industry, it's largely unregulated. The barrier to entry is very free. You can just get a bike now and you call yourself a logistic company. No, and that's what you see in the industry. But what are we doing? Because most time when we also talk, we look at government. What are we, private sector, people, operators, what are we doing to regulate this industry? By regulation is that, what kind of support are we lending to those people coming from the bottom level operators? Because sometimes what they do also impacts you, because when I talk to clients a number of times, they look at, they just price you the way they price the other person, or they compare you. But if there is a form of regulation, systems, processes that we have put in place that help people on the lower level to come up, and then I think we can be a bit better.
Okay, is that your question for anyone in particular?
I think maybe I should go back to the doctor because I saw about that.
Just take the last question and then we'll answer it. All right.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Very quickly, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, quickly. My name first, Tayo Juri from Aglo Air. It's more of a suggestion than a question. Drone is the way to go. I see emphasis more on, you call it multimodal. Nobody's talking about the air. You have to fly. And that's where I'm a big proponent. Thank you, madam, for the drone. We'll work with you with NCAA about scheduling and accreditation. You need that to work with Zipline. And about the telematics and tracking, it's good. But what we need to do is let's leverage on the cargo airlines, the domestic cargo airlines. Those are, the roads will still not be done or the rails, even if we do 1,000 miles. But what we need is cargo. And we're pushing that. We're able to talk offline after that.
Oh, thank you. The question was for you, right? The question was for him. Was it for him? No, the question from him. Who was it for? So he
No, I think he was asking how the people in the lower informal sector can get regulated. So regulation is really for the government. If you stay on the roads, as you go on the roads, you will see the non-state actors. They're always picking one thing or the other, one ticket or the other, doing one of those things. What they can do is to start with the cooperatives. Like anybody can't just stand up and jump into the business of dispatch. You must be able to have a certified entry, a structured entry. And that is what the policy says. I know Lagos State Ministry of Transportation has such. So they need to enforce. Like I came in late, but I know Reynolds has talked about policies being there. Enforcement is what we should be talking about. How do we ensure that you enforce the policy that is already on? Thank you.
Thank you. One more time.
So when he spoke about regulations and safeties, he also mentioned you buy a bike and you call yourself a logistics company. So what is important here is that everything cannot be left to government, and probably that's why we speak of private-public partnership. Like when I said in the initial part of my speech that we have a company called GSCS, which is an exclusively logistics company. So what we do there is also for all the drivers and helpers who are there in the truck, we conduct various safety trainings, and those are monitored. Like one of the things is that we monitor that there is no night driving because of various safety norms. And such things are monitored through the telematics to see that the drivers actually don't drive at night, because there's no point earning profits at the cost of lives. So, so then there are various other things. There is a what should I say? There is a review on the speed driving, idle time, and all such parameters which can impact the logistics business as well as human life. So while there will be a set of government policies, some may follow, some may not follow it. Some may choose not to follow, but by doing a happy weekend can freely go through. So it is on the private enterprises and on the companies to make sure that we take care of such human lives and make sure that the policies and regulations which are there are strictly adhered to. Thank you.
Thank you. One more time, a very big round of applause for my very amazing panel. This has been a very rich conversation, and I think my major takeaway is that we need to invest in the people, in the process, in the technology, and the infrastructure for us to have this. Thank you very much, everyone, for also being here. I would hand over now to Kemi.
Please let's give them a round of applause.
I guess our speakers will take some photographs at this point, but I'd like to just, while that is going on, to express the profound appreciation of Business Day to all of our speakers and panelists, including, of course, the Lagos State Commissioner of Transport, who was with us at the beginning, but has had to hop up to another event. This has been a great time. The first, I believe, of the many annual logistics and mobility summits to be organized by Business Day. We appreciate our speakers. We appreciate even more our sponsors. Of course, DP World, Greed, and of course, Valency. We really are grateful for your choosing to partner with us. One thing I can promise, we will put together a communique at the end of this, which we expect to then send to our friends in government, both the Lagos and the federal government people as well. Once again, let me thank you and assure you that surely the conference for next year will be much bigger. We would have more time, to plan for it. We intend to collaborate very effectively with associations along the value chain. As I said in my opening remarks, I believe that this economy is ready to take off, and there's no way we can truly take off and be healthy without a healthy logistics and mobility sector. Once again, let me thank you all for coming, and perhaps at this point to wish you a truly Merry Christmas, and I hope we can see you in the new year. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Publisher, Business Day, and thank you for being here. This has been Business Day's conference, Mobility and Logistics Conference 2025. Please kindly follow Business Day across all platforms. On YouTube, we have a Business Day television, where we have a lot of content that is good for you to start your day. Thank you so much for coming, and have yourself a blessed day.
Yes, yes, yes.